Hi there, it's John Keirstead from Arctic Spas Vancouver Island, continuing our educational video series on spas. One of the questions we get a lot from customers is, why is there such a vast range of pricing on spas? Like you get spas starting at $2,000 or $3,000, going right up to $40,000 for a typical a high-end 8-foot spa, and then you get into swim spas and you can go up to $40,000, $50,000, even $60,000 depending on if you have a Covana on top of it. You could get up to $70,000. So you have this huge range of spas, and customers are trying to get the best value for them. So what I wanted to do was just kind of have a quick conversation with you to try and give you some tools to be able to determine value for yourself. So that's the first thing, is as a customer you have to ask yourself, why am I getting a spa? What about what happened to make me think, hey, I should go get a hot tub? Because just a bowl of hot water or a bucket of hot water that you're soaking in doesn't necessarily have a lot of equipment attached to it, so it's going to cost less for that type of a spa. So we have some really simple spas that just blow up, and some places offer those blow up spas for $1,000. But it's how durable is that spa? How long is it going to last? So some of the questions that you want to ask yourself is, how long do I plan on owning this? For a lot of people, I try to get them to think about this as an addition to their home. If you're doing a kitchen renovation, are you going to use the cheap cabinets? Are you going to use a cheap countertop, cheap fittings for like your taps and stuff like that? And contractors building spec homes, they're often very price oriented. They want to keep the costs down, so they use the cheapest raw materials. So a lot of times those cheaper spas or cheaper available spas are using cheaper components. So that's one of the big determining factors. The other is the manufacturer of the spa itself. I think we've talked in other videos, we've talked about foam-filled spas versus non-foam-filled spas. And in a foam-filled spa, you can make a lot of things differently because the foam itself is a structure. So you don't need to make the shell as thick because you can rely on the foam to be the structure for the spa. And I've talked at length about foam-filled versus non-foam-filled, so I'm not going to talk about that in this video. Let's just say, a spa that has a thicker shell is going to be more expensive than one that has a thinner shell. The number of jets, the number of pumps, the number of optional equipment like ozone systems for oxidization, saltwater chlorination systems like our Onsen system and our Spa Boy system. These systems add quite a lot of cost to the product, but deliver a very specific benefit. If you look at the YES system, for instance, kind of the evolution of the ozone and oxygen therapy that can be done in a spa. It's a very expensive option, but if you want beautiful skin, it's an option that a lot of people are willing to pay for. I like to show our cabinet. If you look at most spas nowadays, I remember when I first started in the spa industry, spas all had bottom rails and top rails. These rails, and the cabinet was an integral part of the structure. If you look at most spas nowadays, we call them over the lip, or under the lip cabinetry. So you'll see when you look at a Core Series, for instance, the cabinet is underneath, or the shell, so the shell goes over top. So this is a less expensive cabinet to build. And it's not as structural. Underneath that one, there's a substructure that helps support the shell and that sort of thing. So things that you often don't look at, like having a floor. Most spas nowadays at least have some sort of a floor. Lots of times it's an ABS, kind of molded ABS floor. On the Arctic's Classics and Custom series, we have a full stamped fiberglass floor on there. So you get this very strong built-in concrete pad is built right into the spa, so you can set it on multiple surfaces. So when you're out shopping for a spa and you're trying to determine which shopping aisle am I in? Am I just trying to get some hot water? Do I want therapy? Do I want something that's going to last a really long time? Or is this a house I'm only going to be in for a few years and I'm going to leave the spa behind? Or am I taking the spa to the next place with me? These are the types of questions that you're going to want to ask yourself, because there's a great difference in the cost to build a spa this way as opposed to building a spa like the way we do on the Core Series spa. You know, Core Series spa is very similar to what you see most spa manufacturers building these days. You know, it's got an ABS floor, it's got a no maintenance over the lip cabinet, which is more of a skirt, we call it, right? Whereas this is a structural cabinet that you find. Having access, you know, adding a door into the side or a panel that is removable costs more than having one that's just foam filled in where there's no access, and even if you could access it, there'd be nothing to access except foam. Well, being able to access is going to give your spa more longevity. It's going to last longer. And so one of the things that I'm very proud of about the products that we carry is that this spa never has to end up in a landfill. It's imminently repairable. It could last as long as your home. It could last as, you know, you don't, if something breaks in your house, if the faucet breaks, you don't throw the house out. You know what I mean? Well, it's the same here. If jet leaks or something goes wrong, even the pump, we can replace everything on this spa, and you literally can have the same spa you bought 10 years ago can be brought up to the same quality of a brand new spa at any time. So I think those are the types of questions you have to ask yourself when you're trying to figure out why one spa is $10,000 and another spa that looks very similar is $20,000. The cover, you know, if you look at the cover of the spa, this is a huge area of difference, because most customers simply ask, does the spa come with a cover? And they say, yep, and then they're like, oh, good. But they should be asking, does it come with a good cover? You know, a good cover is going to use a vinyl that's rated for a very cold. In this case, it's a minus 40 degrees cold crack. That's a really, so that means this vinyl isn't going to crack until it's very cold. It has to be extremely cold. And we have lots of spas even at minus 50 and the vinyl doesn't crack, right? The other thing is that the insert inside, how dense is the foam? The denser the foam, the longer life you're going to have and the stronger it is. Is there a steel reinforcement in there? Our covers all have steel reinforcement, so you could literally walk on the cover or a dog could jump up on it and not break the spa. Is there a Milovac seal? You know, inside this spa, if I'll just go to the other side and I'll show you the inside of the insert, you can see that it's got a metallized bag that's been vacuum sealed inside here. Most spas will at least have a poly bag, which is just a plastic bag that seals it, but people don't realize that the poly or the bag will keep out liquid water, but it won't keep out vapor, right? And you get steam coming off this, and that vapor can go right through there, and over time that foam absorbs water, and the next thing you know, this thing becomes really heavy, and it also loses its ability to insulate, so you're paying more each month. So a good cover can cost 2 or 3 times as much as a cheap cover. You know, and on our blow-up spas, it's just a blow-up cover. You know, air is really what's the insulator here, but you want something that's going to really insulate the top part of the spa, because the major expense is the heat that's lost through the top. You know, having a full baffle all the way through so that when this closes, it seals the gap. You see in a lot of spas, they don't have this baffle, and when you see a spa in the wintertime, there'll be snow on one side, snow on the other, and this channel down the middle where there's no snow, because the heat loss is melting the snow. Well, that's just costing you more money, but they save on every cover. They save whatever, $5 or $10, because they don't have to have this thing. These are little things that you can look for that show a big difference in the value of the spa, right? Does the spa have the latest in electronic controls? Does it have safety features built into it? Does it have pillows? You know, some spas have just a drape over pillow. Does it have an adjustable pillow, right? This pillow can be adjusted. It can also be moved the other way, right? So we can move it like this so that it actually comes in more, right? So there's different options available. This pillow is a different material than you see in most. This is EVA instead of polyurethane, which won't absorb water. The polyurethane ones over time absorb water, and they kind of get ugly and nasty looking, not to mention that they can get smelly. You know, one of the things that I like to do is I like to keep these up out of the water line so that they don't absorb water over time. The fittings themselves, you know, you see spas that have there's no stainless steel escutcheon on here, it's just plastic. Well, that changes the price of the spa a little bit, but you know, everything adds up. Bottom line is, if you ask the right questions and get your questions answered, you can really be shown the difference of why one spa might be $10,000, another spa might be $15,000, and another spa might be $20,000, even though they're similarly equipped. You know, better jets, better pumps, better heaters, better controls, better cabinet, better cover. All of these things change the price. And then ask yourself, it's a time value of money equation here, right? How long is this thing going to last? You know, you might spend $5,000 more in your spa up front, but it might cost you $20 a month less to operate. Servicing it might be half the price down the road. You know, I tell people, you know, it's important to know the initial warranty, but a much better question is if this spa wasn't in warranty, what would it cost me to repair it? I'm here to tell you that the cost to repair spas is largely contingent on how long is it going to take me to figure out where the problem is. On some spas, where we can take all of the access panels off and take a look, it doesn't take us long to diagnose the problem or fix it. On other spas, if this is filled with foam, it could take me forever to determine where a problem might be, and you're paying each hour of labor towards that. And you know, most spa manufacturers or spa service companies charge $100, $150 an hour to diagnose where your problem is. So those are the long-term costs that you want to associate, and that's what to the initial price. And those are the questions that are best aimed towards your sales consultant that you're working with. Ask them, you know, how long is this spa expected to last for? You know, on an Arctic Spa Custom Series, we warranty the shell for life. But on the Classic Series, where it's warranted for 10 years, for instance, that shell is exactly the same as the one that we warranty for life. So that's a good value. These are the questions that you want to ask yourself. Do I use jets? If you're not a jet person, if you're in that category of I use the jets very occasionally or otherwise, don't pay for extra jets and extra pumps. You know, maybe get the Spa Boy system instead. Maybe get a Yes system instead, or maybe just get a bare bones spa. That's going to be less money up front to start with. So those are the questions that you'll want to ask yourself when you're determining the initial value of the spa that you're looking at, and it'll help you to determine which aisle you want to start with. So ask good questions, and when your salesperson or consultant is talking with you, answer the questions about your usage, and they'll match the best spa for you, which is our goal at Arctic Spas Vancouver Island. Our goal is to find you the best value spa in the price range that you can afford, because we think everybody should be able to get a spa. And that's why when you come to our stores, we'll have spas starting at a very low price right up to the most expensive spas available on the market. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I'm John Keirstead from Arctic Spas Vancouver Island.